Hey, how you doing? I thought it might be a good idea to talk a little bit about the EJK Fuel Controller. I have played with it an awful lot, and it and I have come to a bit of an understanding of each other, so I thought I'd share some of that with you. And we'll find a place to pull over so I can talk without interruption from traffic. The thing I wanted to talk about with the EJK is that a lot of people are maybe a little bit nervous of adjusting it. You know, they get the aftermarket exhaust and they just stay with the Dobeck default settings. But you really don't have to, and a lot of times it just wastes gas. And so I just wanted to, you know, just suggest some things that I've done, played with it. I've played with it a lot. And for instance, if you have full stage 1 mods, you can change your first green setting to 1.5 or 2, but even 1.5 at cruise isn't really going to be too lean. You know, most people find that. Make your own judgment. So you can go 1.5 on the cruise, and you can go down to, let's say, 2.5 on acceleration. I wouldn't go below that, and or leave that at 3. And you can, if you like, reduce the red setting to 5 from 6, or 5.5 if you want, you know. And also the switch points. The switch points, a lot of people think, well, gee, I don't want to adjust those. Shouldn't touch those. But there's no reason why not. All they are is, you know, the first 3 settings are the amount of fuel that is going to be added to the stock ECU gauged settings, or whatever you want to call it. And the switch points are when that fuel is begun to be added, according to your load and RPM. So you can adjust those down a little bit, but the first one, which is your green-blue, you don't want to set that to come in too early, because if you set that, let's say, below 4, you're going to be stalling at stoplights, because as you come down in revs, you're going to be too rich, because that'll kick in sooner. So therefore, when you come back off your throttle, it's going to end, you know, you're going to still have that extra fueling at too low of a rev. So you can be stalling at stoplights and such. So don't go below 4 on that one. But on the other ones, you know, the yellow-blue, for instance, and the red-blue, you can modify those. You can pull those down. So let's say the yellow-blue from the setting of stock, it's at 4, I believe. And if you want, you can pull that down all the way to 2.5, although I find 3 works best, at least in my experience. And the red starts at 4.5. You can go down to 2.5, or I find 3.5 works very good for me. So see what works for you. So you can modify those. The thing to remember on the switch points and the fueling is, with the EJK, it's not stacked. They're not stacked on one another. So if you change, let's say, the amount of fueling and or where it cuts in on let's say, cruise, you're not going to be having a greater amount added when you adjust your acceleration setting or your wide open throttle setting. They're not built upon one another. They all add a certain amount according to load and RPM from the base settings that the bike has. So that's important to know. What else? The Dobeck cruise setting, some people call it cruise idle, but actually it doesn't affect idle. So you're not enriching the idle by setting that, or you're not leaning it out by setting it. This is straight from Dobeck. They say that they make these so that they do not affect idle at all. So that's also why you don't want that switch point going down too low on your green-blue, because you'll get too close to the idle. On my particular case, because I've baffled this muffler a little bit with my little doohickey that I fashioned, a little screen and a plate I've got in there. So that increases back pressure, so that will affect the mixture a little bit, richening it up a tad. So what I've done is, my personal settings are 1.5, let's see, get them right, John. Got to remember all this. 1.5, 2.5, 5, 4.5, 3, 3.5. That's my settings, and it works good. The reason I like adjusting the cut-in points are because you can tweak then the richness. You can lean it out a little bit if you feel you want, and to have better economy. But you can have that that extra fueling at the 3 stages, cruise, acceleration, and wide open, cut in when you want. So you can begin them a little sooner. And if you get the tweaking just right, what it'll do is give you a bit more throttle response, a bit quicker, better throttle response. What else? If you have a stock bike with, let's say you've modified the airbox, but you don't have an aftermarket exhaust, and Dobeck has the stock bike settings that they recommend, and so that's probably where you have them. You can, again, adjust a little bit because you've increased the air, so if you want, you can just tweak minor, a little bit more richness. I wouldn't go up from 1.5 on the green, but I would definitely explore going to 2 on acceleration, that sort of thing. Just a moderate increase just to see what happens, and on wide open throttle you can go up just half a point as well. See what it's like. Try those switch points down just a bit, If you've got a stock bike, stock exhaust, and you've modified the stock exhaust by shortening the spark arrestor to its max, and then drilling a hole in the end, and then putting a screen over that end, what was the end plate. So now you've got a freer flow on the stock exhaust and more flow. Then you can modify the EJK settings a bit more. You can go 1.5, 2, or 2.5 for acceleration, and then you can go, let's say, 3, 3.5 for 4, maybe for wide open throttle. Just explore, and then watch your tailpipe deposits. It's a good way, easy way of checking whether you're excessively rich or not. If they're nice and loose and city black, then maybe you're wasting a bit of fuel and richer than you need to be, so then back them off a bit until the coloration is a little bit more charcoal, a little bit more grayish black rather than jet fluffy black. Don't want that. Yeah, so that's just some things that you can explore and try. I like to tweak things and find out how they work, And if you understand how the EJK works, then it's not such a mystery, and you can use it to fine-tune your bike. So I think that's it. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you tuning in. And you folks, you have a wonderful day. Catch you on another ride, eh?